Hi, everybody. This is Nate, and I wanted to do a reading today to look at the energies for this Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska coming up this coming Friday. And I thought kind of it could be interesting to do one of those Lenormand Grand tableau reading just to kind of see the energies that we could get from this future meeting. So, for those of you who are not familiar, the Grand Tableau is a form of a divination reading using an oracle called the Lenormand, and we're using the 36 cards, and each card has a meaning, and their placements on the cards also have a meaning. I usually try to explain a little bit step by step. So I will share the cards. I have pulled the cards, and what I've asked this tableau is what are the energies around the meeting between Trump and Putin? This meeting expected in Alaska on Friday. I've used the man card to represent Trump. I used the bear. Bear represents Russia for Putin. And I used the lady, the woman card for Ukraine, Zelensky or Ukraine, depending on how we want to look at it. And those are the only three cards that I have charged. And I am going to share now this reading with you. So take your time, get a cup of tea like I am doing. We're gonna go through this step by step. I know it could be a bit overwhelming when we see all the cards, but I like to take my time and kind of show you kind of what I see for this meeting. So let me share my screen, and you should be seeing here my whole screen. And those are the 36 cards. So starting here, we have Trump here in position number two. We have Putin with Russia here underneath. We have uh, Ukraine here with the woman, and that would be possibly Zelensky. But let's start to look at a little bit the energies of the tableau. So the first thing that I always kind of go to is the center cards. The center cards that we have here, we have a letter, and the letter could be paperwork, a document, could be an invitation, obviously the invitation of Putin to Alaska, but a document, a secret document, a deal, a paper, something that, there are documents on the table, contracts, agreements. And we have the fish. And the fish is usually ties to business money, possibly, but also holds a certain form of independence energy. So you can read in this card kind of two ways, like a document touching a country's freedom and independence, but it could also be um, something related to business. And that's kind of interesting because obviously this meeting is to discuss peace, but we know that there's a lot of financial and business interest that Trump has. So I feel like this is quite interesting. It's also interesting that going into it, we have in the four corners the bouquet next to Trump. Trump trying to present, as I see it, trying to present always, the bouquet, embellishing a situation, um, here, embellishing this situation, presenting with the sunshine, kind of like presenting, a, trying to present something good. We know that he's trying to get to the uh, the Nobel Peace Prize, and I feel like that's definitely something that is on his mind. Coming for the honors with the son, almost the bouquet, you could say, receiving the prize. You can see that there's this energy here. Interestingly, at the bottom of it all, we have the the fox, and the fox is very sneaky. And I feel that, we're dealing with Putin, who is definitely sneaky, Trump, which can't really be trusted. Um, and so this is an energy that's at the bottom, at the foundation. In other words, from a higher perspective, for what is shown in the optics, Trump wants to present like a good aspect. But in reality, there's something really sneaky. And it's funny that it's touching the house, the White House. For me, the house is always the White House. And so we know that, he has an ulterior motive, but he's trying to present himself in the best possible way to win this Nobel Peace Prize. I think this is very much what's driving him. The other corner is interesting. We have the child. The child is interesting because the child represents a new situation, something new, but literally could be children. We know that there's a significant issue over children that have been taken away from Ukraine in Russia. And that could be an element, an interesting aspect, particularly what you see here, taken away with the scythe that's taken away. Um, and a loss of the children with the mice here. So this is interesting because that's coming into play as well. The situation with the children. And I feel that we could say that with this agreement that's being discussed, the children, the aspect of the situation of the children is an important aspect of the deal. Okay. In the corner, looking out in the future further away, we have the clouds. And so the clouds really have two meanings. The meaning of, well, problems on the horizon, something that is not clear, and unclarity, and also like the dark clouds, like some issues, and the inconsistency. And it's interesting because it's next to the lily, and the lily represent peace. So right off the bat, there's a sense that whatever comes out of this meeting is not clear. It's the peace it's not a clear-cut peace. There's issues that are coming after, especially that the card next to it, we have to really look at it here, is the snake. So in other words, that piece is in between the snake and the clouds. Clearly, 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 if there's any element of peace coming to this deal, it's not lasting, there are problems, it's not clear. It feels like it's almost like we get more and more the sense of a setup or a trap. Um, Particularly the tree here represent growth, expansion. And so the idea would be that the piece is not lasting, or it doesn't really have long term, and it's actually with the mice eaten away. So that gives us also an indication. I forgot to mention here with the sneaky fox in the White House, sneaky energies coming from the White House, and looking for solutions. The key represents the solutions, looking for those solutions. So we're gonna have to come back to um, to all of this because there's clearly an energy here that's telling me that the goal being the peace that it's coming at the end of this tableau, it's not there. And I feel almost like there's a lie, there's a trap, there's an issue. It's not achieving the goal, but it's diagonal to the sun and the bouquet. It's almost like wanting to present something, but in reality, it's not there. Also, I would definitely mention that the last card is the ring. The ring is the contract, the deal. And as you can see it, it is also next to the snake. The deal, there's a big problem with this deal. And the piece, this is like those cards are really like when it comes to a peace deal, are really bad. You know, like this square here that is not exactly a square are really talking about a lot of those issues that are really happening with this type of agreement. Whatever agreement can be reached, it's if it's reached, it's not lasting peace, or it's not. There's traps, there's lies, there's fake. It's a problem. Okay, and you can't really trust the discussion. Now you almost telling me to look at the birds here. The birds represents the negotiation, and the negotiation there's a problem with them as well, um, because there's a snake next to them, you know, and so that snake is really at a bad spot between negotiation, peace, a deal, and a heart, like almost like a heartbreaking situation that we see. Um, Also, when you see the lineup to this deal, which is kind of, I'm going to take this pink color, is look at the line here um, for the deal. We have the snake, we have the heart, we have the coffin, which means like an and then we have the whip. The whip represents the arguments, violence. And so it's really not a good line here. Um, and also, I would say it's the same with this line here with the piece. We have the stars, which talks about long term, and the tower, which is higher goals. But then look at the first line is the site, which takes away. So this is not really encouraging when we see this. Okay, let's look at this square now around Trump and Putin. First of all, we have Putin here, yes, and Trump here. It's interesting because they are diagonal. And there's this dog here. The dog is the third party. So I have to pause here for a second because what what is this dog, like this third party? I I feel like, from the audience, you might have some ideas of who could be these people, but I feel like the dog could be the Saudis that are in between. It could be China, it could be North Korea, it could be Turkey. There's clearly a third party here. I find that very fascinating. So we will look into that when we look into the houses. We also see that there is the cross here. And so between Trump and Putin, there is the problems, there is a cross. That doesn't feel like a good energy. Like it's almost like they're diagonal, there's problems. This meeting doesn't seem easy at all, and I feel like this shows like they don't see eye to eye, literally. Um, it's interesting with this dog because it's next to the crossroad, which would be the third party, different path. It's almost like there's this card I feel like is very important, and I don't know who this is, but this seems to be like another country or entity at play here. And they seem in the background because they're in the moon card, almost like in the shadow. Very, very interesting. We also see, if we look at Trump's, line up, we have for him this line here, which I'll do with this color right here. We have the cross, we have the sheep, we have the clover, we have the whip, we have the sight, and we have the child. It's almost like problems happen, is leaving, is looking for another opportunity, there's an argument, there's an end, something is taken away, and he has to kind of find something new. In other words, like it's not a straightforward um, line for Trump. Same thing for Putin. Is hoping to get a positive reaction, but there's a block, there's a coffin. It's like against every possible wall. It's actually worse for Putin. It's almost gives the sense like he is or is facing a wall in every single direction. Um, and I just feel like nothing is going through. Nothing seems to be moving forward in any of those directions. When I look at Putin's line, I feel, let's go with Trump first. Trump's line, there's that third party country, could be Saudi, could be, we discussed that he thinks might help. So that's an interesting, that he's relying on a third party country, maybe because of the challenges that he's facing. Also, I have to mention it, but the dog is also in the Lenormand, the doctor, and there's a doctor with Trump, and there's a doctor with Putin. So that's kind of an interesting play here. If I look at Putin's line, of course, he's trying to stay on top of Ukraine. The lady represents Ukraine. And secrets, the moon. I feel like this is someone who's going to be full of lies and full of pretending things. And basically, I get like a sense of dishonesty here. And, with the garden represents the people of Ukraine. And so I feel like his goal is to, you see, literally sitting on the Ukraine people, and doesn't seem to be the way that he wants to change that. And also the cross here could be, that's his motivation. It's like a goal that he has, like a fundamental goal of doing this. Interestingly, I would also say that as far as Ukraine being in this four, uh, the bottom four, Ukraine, the book represents secrets, but could also represent learning. The anchor, Ukraine wants peace and stability and want a fair deal. That's, I think, is what's coming out of Ukraine. Not a big surprise, but the deal is sour. The deal is not a deal that they can take. I feel like this is going to be a big, big problem for that reason. Okay. Um, Let me clean everything up, and we're gonna look at the houses, because I have a feeling we're gonna learn a couple things from the houses. So let me do a clean up. And when I talk about the houses, I talk about the position that those cards fell into. So I'm going to explain that. Just doing a bit of cleanup. Because we might learn a few things from the house. So first house, this card, the bouquet, which represents success, reward, something beautiful, came in position number one. Position number one, you see one here is the rider. So something coming. So Trump, like I was saying, this is next to Trump. Trump coming with what he feels is progress, a solution, something to look good, etc. So we're not surprised. Let's look at Trump. Trump is in position number two. Position number two is the clover. You can see there's a two here. And so Trump is actually, this is a card of the opportunity. So he's coming in as an opportunist, basically trying to trying to be opportunistic. His goal is not really peace. His goal is to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So that's the opportunity. He is an opportunistic person. We know that. And also, let's face it, the clover is also a card of luck. And he has had some luck. We know that. So that describes him well. House number three, we have the cross, and that's in the house of the ship, which is next door. So interesting, if I feel the cross represents problems, pains, issues, I get the sense that there will be um potential, so problems with foreign, which could be simply the foreign affairs, could be Ukraine and Russia, but could also be a problem, some possible problem with the trip itself, the logistics of the trip. You know, that could also be an issue with the trip itself. So let's keep that open, that there might be an issue. We have the ship in the house of the house. The house, as you can see, is a number four, and the ship is um, representing a movement, um, or it could be representing foreign affairs. So to me, this is just a confirmation of the White House, the movement. It maybe bring people from the White House in movement. You see where I'm going with this. The next card is the tree. The tree represent growth, and the and the clover represent opportunities. To me, I don't think that there's anything more than someone who's looking at finding opportunities, finding ways to make this deal happen. Interestingly, then we have the whip, which represents usually verbal arguments, and this is in the house of the clouds. So it's not good at all. Not good at all that we have this in the house of the clouds, because that means like the discussions, I don't see them going well because of that. The next card, which is in the house of the snake, is the sight. The sight and the snake, not a good card either, because I feel that this is removing, and that snake is like you cut off, and there's a problem here with the snake. Close to the discussions. Something doesn't look good either. Something doesn't look good either in terms of the discussion and the removal. Could be removal of countries, of territories for Ukraine, that sort of thing. The child in position number eight, something new, but the coffin, which is position number eight, is about ending. You see, it's like it starts and it ends. It's almost like it's not leading to anything. That's the energy that I get. The sun is in the house number nine of the bouquet. Back to the discussions that Trump wants to show something really, really good. Okay, I am very curious about this dog in position number 10. 10 is the site. So that third party is not helping. It's almost like there's a third party in the middle, and this third party removed itself. There's an issue with that third party as well. Now we arrive at Putin and the bear, and that's in the house of the whip. Not good arguments. You see where I'm going with this? It doesn't look good. We're moving on to the birds. The birds and the storks like discussions, but the discussions are next to the mountain, which are the child. So bringing something new, there's blocks in bringing new energies. Then we're moving to the coffin, which is in house 14, the house of the fox. Something sneaky, something ending. It's almost like there's an element of end here, like it's removed, it's ending, but not in a good way. The tower, the tower is in the house of the bear. That can represents the businesses, that can represents the Russian government. But look, it's next to the coffin and the sites, not good. And the mice, which is in the position of the star. The star are here, hopes and dreams, but has the mice. Hopes and dreams are eaten up. It's not going through. One more time. The White House. We are now in the position of the stork. Those cards are all trying to elevate themselves. The White House basically is trying to take a higher role. The crossroad in the house of the dog, interestingly, where that is that third party, and that third party seems to go a different way. 19, the tower, which could be the government, in this sense of the moon. The moons are the lies, the deception, like in the tarot, next to Putin. The documents or the letter is in the house of the garden. The garden represents the people. To me, that could represent a contract, a deal. And the fish in the house of independence or business, and it's in the house of the mountain. A lot of cards next to each other here also represent some blocks and difficulties to independence or businesses. The heart, that would be the house of the crossroad. So a heart split, right? Because it's the crossroad. Then we're looking at the mice. The mice is in the house of the, so isn't the stars is in the house of the mice. And the mice was in the house of the stars. So mice, stars, stars, mice. It's problems for future, problems for the long term, hopes and dreams that are eaten away twice. And then the tree in the matter of the heart. So that, like the hopes and dreams that are not quite being achieved. The stork in the house of the book 20, 24, 25. 25 is the ring, a sneaky deal. You see 25, that's card number 25. There's a sneaky deal. They come in with trying to make a sneaky deal, and it's a deal that I don't see going through. We see that very clearly now. The book and the key, secrets, the keys being secrets with this third party. That's still very interesting. The garden in the house of the letter next to each other. I think this is for the people. The rider in the house of the man, 20. Uh, so a man coming, this is basically men coming towards each other for discussions in the house of the woman. Interestingly, discussions here with the birds tie with the woman card, which is Ukraine. So it is interesting. Discussions with Ukraine. So we have Trump and Putin here on a corner, potentially mediated, but then there's also a discussion with Zelensky. So I wonder if somehow they're not going to have Zelensky involved, but at a distance. Like it could be part of some discussion, but not there, that sort of thing. Like he's not with them, but he's kind of in the discussion, but somewhere else. Very interesting. Then we have the snake. That snake is in the house of the lily. Oh my goodness. Card 30, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's in the house of peace. And peace is in the house. So there's a problem next to it. There's a problem here again with this snake in the house of the peace, of the lily. It's not going through. The discussions are not going through. Then we have the lily in the house of the sun, the clarity or the sun in the house of peace, wanting peace, but unfortunately, what we see here, it's 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 fake. It's not working through. It's not positive. And next to the clouds, which is in the house of the moon. See the moon, the deceits in the clouds. It's like I almost feel like it's presented at peace, but it's not peace. I feel like there's an element of a peace agreement that is sandwiched into this snake, these clouds, and this, and it's not happening. It's fake. It has traps also. Let's look at card 33, where the solution, the key, that's Ukraine, and it's in the house of the key. I like that Ukraine holds the key. Then we have the book. The book could be secrets, and it's in the house of the fish. Interestingly, this could be businesses. So there's clearly a business element here. The anchor in the house of the anchor, to me, that means status quo. And then the deal, the ring, in the house of the cross, that also a sign that is not going through. Okay? So lots of red flags here in this reading. Now I'm going to do some knighting. Knighting is 2 cards, 1 card. And so see if there's anything interesting. Yes, if I do this, Trump, knight to the moon, the deceit. Putin, well, knights to the White House. Trump knights to the White House. So that kind of talks about their meetup. Um, Putin knights with the business, with the fish. Interesting. Trump knights with the stock, try to get a leg up. That's the Nobel Peace Prize. Those are kind of like the main things. Peace knights with the coffin. Peace knights with the mice. Not a good point either. That's really what I'm seeing here. So I'm gonna kind of do a summary here for you with what we've learned. I felt like this tableau was very interesting. Trump clearly going in with an idea of elevating himself. Complete deceit on both sides from Trump and from Putin. There's clearly a sense like whatever, if either there's nothing peaceful at all in this agreement, or if there's an agreement, it's full of traps, it's full of snakes, it's full of problems, and it's not gonna it's not something that will benefit Ukraine or be positive for Ukraine. I feel like Ukraine will be part of the discussions, but in a remote or distant kind of way, uh, but not really with the two of you. There's also an important aspect of money and business here that is at the center that we shouldn't be forgetting. And I'm very curious about the third party country or person being present. That I think we should really wait for Friday to try to understand who that could be. It could be a country being mediating, it could be a country also wanting to be part of the discussion. I don't believe this is Europe. And that's what I'm saying. So, status quo, a deal that's not a deal, and a lot of fake snake energy, clouds, moon. Those are like the main energy that I feel from this. And so I don't see this being successful at all. I feel like this is a lot of show off. Remember all those cards, the bouquet, the sun, a lot of show off, but that either leads to nothing or something bad that Ukraine cannot accept. So that's what I'm seeing. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions and comments, and thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for being part of my community, and I'll see you again for another reading. Thank you.